Hey guys, all right? It's Brett from Iron Body Martial Arts here. How's it going? Doing little bit of a live video or live hangout or whatever you want to call it. Um, Couple of topics to cover today. We'll see if anyone joins in. Please feel free to comment or whatever if you join in. Couple of topics to cover today, but the title of this video is Traditional Martial Arts Getting a Bad Rap. I've been trawling in between training. I've been trawling the internet, the usual internet, and I've been seeing that the old traditional martial arts and kung fu and stuff like that. There's a general consensus, and they're getting a bum rap these days. There's a lot of talk about MMA, which I like. I like MMA. There's a lot of talk about MMA and stuff, and there's a lot of ignorant comments. I did just make a video on it, which I'm going to publish up for anyone who's interested. Yeah, your guys' opinions too. I don't know where it's coming from. I believe with the rise of MMA, obviously we've been confronted with how the realities. People can't hide behind the intangible anymore. We know that kicking works, we know that punching works, we know that wrestling and jiu-jitsu works. But bear in mind, a few years ago, people used to question those things. Jiu-jitsu practitioners, if you guys remember from a couple of years ago, because I've studied jiu-jitsu for years, but before it became more mainstream, there was the kickboxing community, the sport combat community, and Muay Thai community. I mean, they've always been around, and it's awesome. But if you guys remember from years and years back, I mean, I was born in 86, but if you remember from years and years back, those same communities which now are recognizing like Jiu-Jitsu, BJJ as working. Those same communities used to say that, in real life out on the streets, that'll never work, and it doesn't work, and it won't work in the ring, because of this. And then here we go, you've got MMA and UFC where it's like no holds barred, and you can do anything, and it's very successful. So it just goes to show that the different ideals, the different stages of time that people are in, all of a sudden, things change in popularity. But why are traditional arts getting such a bum rap? Especially kung fu. I mean, I made some comments on a video the other day and about kung fu, and someone just came on and absolutely like trolled the hell out of me and slammed me, and they were basically like, stupid, this kung fu and it doesn't work, and you did a video in horse stance and that wouldn't work. Really, really ignorant comments. So what is the thing with traditional martial arts? Well, I think as well is two things. C says, hey, just got here, but opinionated. Well, C, I'm all ears, brother, because one of the things I've seen online, sorry, I got a bit of a runny eye. One of the things I've seen online is that I think, for whatever reason, people who train, well, first off, we've got a certain generation that are mainly vocal on here. But surprisingly to me, one of the people who really trolled me was actually of the older generation. So maybe he was a bit sour about old things from the past. But I think we've got a two-way thing here. We've got people from like the modern sport arts and stuff like this who perhaps don't see or aren't exposed to how much of the same kind of training we all do. Now, also, mixed martial arts it's not a style; it's mixed martial arts. So this is one thing I've always found strange, because I'll get people who come on, the traditional videos and comment and flame them and whatnot, and sometimes I feel like saying to them, look, you guys don't seem to realize, or is there there should be some realization that traditional martial artists and modern martial artists, or whatever you want to call it, kickboxers, whoever you want to call it, we all should be doing pretty much the same kind of training. We're kicking, we're punching, we're striking, we're conditioning our bodies in different ways. So I believe there's two different things here. There's people letting down the traditional arts by not training enough. That's a big thing. And then there's people just being a bit ignorant from whatever style they're from. Because don't forget, within some of the most ignorant people I've come across are just kickboxing people. I'm not saying this in a broad sense of the term, but I mean personally, some of the most ignorant people with regards to traditional arts and other styles are people who are just from those combat styles, because obviously they're a different mindset, they're doers, they've got a different brain, or not a different brain, but their martial arts is different to them, and they're like, whatever they can't do in the ring and they can't do then and there, and they can't learn pretty quickly and master, it's rubbish. But that's an opinion, it doesn't mean it's rubbish. Just because something takes a while to master or it takes longer to learn, it doesn't make it rubbish. Because that's a big argument I see from the non-traditional side is that it doesn't work, it's rubbish, it takes too long to learn, and that's not the case. I mean, yes, in traditional martial arts there's a lot of prancing around, and there's a lot of moves that take a longer time to learn, and there's a lot of things. Yeah. So C says it here. So someone's just commented about the problem, his problem, and then I just said that's my problem. His problem with people who do traditional arts is they don't realize how much they train. And that's what I can't, like I was saying to this one guy the other day. So I was speaking to a guy who does kickboxing, and he was, I happened to be mentioning something about like Bujinkan, and then we were talking about Kung Fu, and he like absolutely slammed me, and he was ripping the shit out of like my channel and everything. So, but this isn't about me. And then he goes on to say something about, oh, this stupid iron palm conditioning, whatever. And then I was scratching my head, because I was like, how can someone who does kickboxing not realize the benefit? He does punching and kicking. How does he not realize the benefit of conditioning your fists and your feet? And I said to him, I said, well, if that's how much I've conditioned my hands, imagine how much I've conditioned my shins. Surely you can respect, as you're a kickboxer, surely you've received a kick from someone with, and forearms. Surely you've received a kick in your life from someone who's conditioned their shins. Because that's like one of the main things in like Thai kickboxing and kickboxing is you get a shin kick to your thigh and it just turns your leg off. So I don't know what you guys think. I don't know whether it's because of like internet anonymity or sour grapes, or I mean, one thing I always try and do is I always try and be positive with comments that I put online. I always try and I try and look at it from the bigger picture. So, if I see someone doing a style that I don't quite understand, or it's not my kind of cup of tea or whatever, I only give them encouragement, because at the end of the day, we literally all only have a little bit of stuff to work with. We've got fists, we've got legs, we've got knees, we've got and if you wanna just practice punching, kicking, elbow strikes, and you want to wear pads, and you want to do it all like that, and you want to do competition sparring and this, that, and the next thing, then that's awesome. I'm all with that. Yeah. 36 chambers of Hangua. I need to see if I can get up. Oh yeah, I can. 36 chambers of Hangua says that is their strength and their weakness. Yeah, that's their strength and weakness. They are a small array of techniques, so they learn. So they learn quickly and learn to fight quicker, but a weakness, strength is, yeah. Yeah, well, there we go. 36 chambers of Hangua said it right there. Sorry about the disconnect. But this is an accepted weakness. The thing is, maybe there's not enough people, or I mean, there's loads of people, but maybe there's not enough people with the maturity to just sit there and analyze. And maybe also as traditional martial artists, we need to be more honest with ourselves, because I just did a video about this that I'm going to put up, but I just thought I'd do this one as well. You guys probably agree that as traditional martial artists, it is drummed into us to practice the basics, our kicks, our strikes, our blocks, but there's intangible stuff in between that: distance, rhythm, timing. There are intangible things in between that a lot of traditional martial artists at the basic level don't really study, or don't get into. You get into it with sparring, because but you learn it, kind of by mistake. When you're sparring, you naturally learn distance, rhythm, timing. And other pugilistic arts like boxing actually train those sorts of things, like with the speed bag and the dodge ball and the different drills in boxing for dodging the pads and stuff. And that's why you get, but then you do a traditional art and you start to go into those sorts of things, and people say it's hocus pocus, but it's all part and parcel of training. It's all part and parcel of what we need to do. Do we need to train harder? Do we need to train more? Well, we should be training our basics, but in traditional art, sometimes we get sidetracked by things. Oh yeah. So I don't know how to get these comments. Honestly, this thing's crazy, man. So it's 36. Sorry about the disconnect again. It's just me trying to work this. It's just me trying to get the damn comments to come up without everything screwing up. There we go. Getting it. So 36 Chamber of Hungar says a good thing here. The iron body system helps out with all of those things. Well, yeah, it does. But then again, there's lots of people who diss that kind of training and that kind of conditioning. Yeah, this guy's having a bit of chat. So there's people who diss the. Oh no, no, 36 Chamber. That's fine, mate. I enjoy reading the comments of what people say here, as they come in live, because it kind of feeds into what I'm going on about. Obviously, we're in agreement, because I guess you could say we're biased. We're talking at it from a kung fu point of view, but yeah, like, it annoys me do you know what annoys me as well? It annoys me. I've been seeing, these martial arts analysis channels, and they're so popular. And that's another thing that annoys me. It doesn't annoy me that they're popular. Good on them. But a lot of the time, I feel they feed into misrepresentation, and exactly what 36 Chamber says. The amount of people, the amount of traditional martial artists there who find value in the traditional arts, but also study MMA, and also study jujitsus, and also study all those things. It's actually part of the culture and ethos of a good traditional martial artist. Is that because at their core, all traditional martial arts are fully rounded. Yeah, if you look at the traditional kung fu syllabuses, Shaolin Kung Fu, and yeah, Hungar, and all of those. And you've got Chin Na as well, but they're all the Chin Na is the grappling that exists within Chinese martial arts. But forgive my pronunciations, my Chinese pronunciations are terrible. But they're all things that should be part of your art: felling skills, grappling skills, striking skills, conditioning skills. These are all things that are part of a true traditional kung fu or true traditional martial arts. So I don't understand how traditional martial arts can be getting dissed so much and have such a bad rap. Unless, one, also they're not showing it as much, or two, it's just bad clubs and bad people training it are getting represented. So I don't understand. And then you've got these fight analysis channels, which annoy me because they're literally telling us all stuff that we know. If you've done martial arts for more than a couple of years, you don't need fight analysis channels to point at like some bad fighting or some bad. But that's fine, but they should keep it at that. But they'll have Wing Chun versus MMA, and then there's some guy who's doing Wing Chun. And look, and here's another thing. I think it's a lot to do with the warrior mindset. Okay. So inherently, if you do like a modern based kickboxing, MMA, whatever you do, awesome. But you already have that warrior mindset. Yeah. You're a fighter. Excuse me. You like fighting. Yeah. That's what you're into. Yeah. But you also have people like me who do traditional arts and have also come from years ago where there's no MMA, but you also, or your MMA was you sparring with your different friends in your back garden, and you fighting your judo mate, and you fighting your karate mate, and you fighting your boxing mate, and like kicking his legs out from under him or something like that. That was our MMA. Oh yeah. See, he said maybe all the modern people think that traditional kung fu is just what you see on the TV. I think they are, and it's a shame as well because that's wushu. It's not even like traditional kung fu. Like traditional fighting kung fu looks so different to what people think. Like for like Bagua and stuff like that. It's different, and yeah, it's full of some strange stuff, but that's the culture. You know. It's only strange you learn it. It's a lot of theories, sinking, raising, circular motion. It's the core of what's in most and a lot of traditional martial arts. Again, hard to master, takes more time to learn. But as I was saying before about the fighting mindset, yeah, maybe, and I've seen this, and I'm sure you guys have seen this in traditional martial arts. People get away with not really having that mindset of a warrior but it develops in them, which is good, but it can take time. That mindset of a warrior, because they don't have to fight then and there. Let's see if I can get these comments up again. Oh yeah, 36 Chamber of the Hongra. Hongra, awesome martial art, by the way. Love it. I love the iron wire stuff. I'm fascinated by the Titsing Quen, the iron wire. I don't know the whole set, but I love the iron wire stuff, the breathing control. And there's another thing, like from a Kui Gong point of view, the iron, like I saw. If you guys don't know, like the iron wire Hongra. It's a set of movements, yeah, with breathing. It looks very similar and a lot like, say, the Sanshin from traditional Okinawan Goju-ryu karate. Very, very similar there, albeit from slightly different lineages. But iron wire training of Hunggar has some awesome benefits. It's old style, like calisthenic, sinew, muscle, dynamic tension, breathing, movement, tendon strengthening. It's a practical, functional exercise. It's awesome. I've seen people, and this is what I mean. I've seen people from what I don't know where they're from, but I've regularly seen, if you go on Hunggar iron wire stuff. And that's an ignorance and a misunderstanding. I've been people going, "Oh, that wouldn't work in a fight." You're seeing someone doing, one of the Hunggar iron wire forms, and there's someone going, "Oh, that wouldn't work in a fight. You couldn't do that in real life. Look how stupid that is." And I'm looking around the room going, and you see it on these fight analysis channels as well. I'm looking around the room going, does this guy know that this isn't even meant for fighting? Like, why can't people comprehend this? In this modern day age where we know that athletes in any given sport do stuff outside of their sport to make them better for it. They do it in MMA, they do it in basketball, they do it in baseball. It's pretty much what we think of as a modern idea. This idea of training endurance, strength, and toughness to better your sport or your art. You've got the iron wire form, which, yeah, it does have combat movements in, but is largely, correct me if I'm wrong, largely developed to build the strength and power and the continuity of stance and sinew and tendons. And you've got people coming on that. This is what I mean about ignorance. You've got people coming on that and saying, oh, that doesn't work in a fight. That's not going to work in a fight. And it's just like, mate, come on, give us a break here, Jesus. It's a Qi Gong. It's a strength building exercise. It elements of it can work because you're toughening yourself up. Yes, and 36 Chambers said it, and like I've said it before, 36 Chambers of Hunger is it's like watching, and I said it as well to someone, the Muay Thai guy who came on my channel, and I love Muay Thai, by the way, but someone who was ignorant came on my channel and said, oh, you know, what's this fake shit, you know, this horse stance and stuff, and I'm like, man, that's like 36 Chambers said, it's like me watching you doing push-ups and saying, oh, that wouldn't work in a fight. So that's what I don't understand. Traditional martial arts are getting a bad rap because of training exercises from MMA people who are spending a large majority, and I love MMA, by the way, because inherently I am a mixed martial artist, but from MMA fanboys, I don't know what we want to call them, modernistic MMA ultimate fanboys, probably online people who don't actually study any martial art, but it's getting a bad rap from them who are like they, you know, well, if they train martial arts, they do the same thing. They flip tires, they hit for tires with sledgehammers, you know, they running through those little ladders and stuff like that. And I do that too. It's a good training exercise. But you don't see people from the freaking traditional martial arts community coming on those videos and going, well, you know, what's hitting something with the tire? What's that going to do for you in MMA? So in essence, I suppose I'm annoyed. You guys probably agree with me, or maybe not. I'm annoyed with that age-old argument that we get hit with as traditional martial arts is that wouldn't work in a fight. That wouldn't work in a fight. And it's like, yeah. Yes, and true. So 36 Chamber has said it there as well. He said traditional martial artists also get a bad rap for running their mouth and being shit at fighting. And that goes back to what I was saying at the beginning as well, is that, look, if you do a traditional art, it's your responsibility to cultivate the warrior within you. I went off on a tangent from before, but if you do boxing, if you do Muay Thai, if you do normal kickboxing or MMA style training now, it's all geared towards fighting right now, getting as proficient as you can at fighting right now. Yeah. Now, the basics of traditional arts, to some extent, are that, but a lot slower. You know, you're developing your stances, and the tradition of how it's developed is a lot slower. You know, it's like the master cracking his knuckles and going, "Oh, we've got a lot of work to do," rather than going, "Go and punch that for a bit of time." So I've always enjoyed when I'm instructing people. I've always enjoyed blurring that line a bit, and even going more old school. You know, a lot of the time when I get students, I just point them towards the makiwara or the pad or the boxing bag, and I go, okay, go and punch that for some time. I want to see what you do, and go and kick that. And much like a combat sport now, I let them start by just doing what they should have been doing before they even came to me, which is actually trying to kick and punch some stuff. Yeah. And that's another thing in traditional arts. There's a lot of value found against air cutters and stuff like that. But personally, I mean, those are awesome. But personally, I've always tried to do more hitting of actual things than air hitting, because that's just the way I learn. You know, if I want to develop a powerful punch, I'll just go and punch like the boxing bag loads of times. I will go and kick the boxing bag loads of times. I will then punch the makiwara loads of times. I will then go and do some sandbag punching, you know, and I will use that as a method, you know, actual punching, rather than standing in the air and punching and doing a cutter and stuff. Those develop different things. Yeah, so I enjoy doing that a little bit more. I've got up to 4 thumbs up. That's cool. I think, look, also these days, traditional, we are lucky in this modern day where you can go to an MMA club. Now, traditional guys might not like this or not, but you can go to an MMA club, and it's much like the old days of warfare. You can go to an MMA club, like you can go to a kickboxing club or whatever, and you can pretty much be exposed to people who can give you a high level of fighting, for that particular thing, a high level of combat, a high level of fighting, and that's awesome. With traditional martial arts, it's not as easy because when was the last time that there were traditional martial arts used in an actual war, outside of like some soldiers fighting in a modern day battle, in China or in US or whatever, like what's that? Like Sistema, say, the Russian combat system, or the one that they use on all the films now, which isn't really a traditional style, but old Krav Maga and stuff like that. It's a long time ago for all of our traditional martial artists, be it karate, jiu-jitsu, the samurai jiu-jitsu, the sword work, the iaido, the kendo, the staff fighting, the stick fighting, the spears, all those things. It's you're now hard pressed to find stuff. Um, yeah. C says someone needs to invent a practice robot. Yeah, that'd be cool. It's coming. It's coming. And I tell you what, when I could, well, I've always wanted one of those bob dummies. The bob dummies with the like little plastic bob dummy, like with the proper human face and neck and stuff. Because in the training academy, when I went to the training academy, where was it? Which training academy? That was one of the police training academies anyway that I went to. I can't remember whether it was Australia or the UK. They had one of these bob dummies. And obviously, I'd used a wooden dummy and boxing bags and sandbags for years. I saw one of these bob dummies. Yeah, everyone knows Bob. I used one of the bob dummies, and man, it was awesome. Especially coming from like practicing like some traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu, but also being a person who likes their striking and hitting and conditioning. I just went to this bob dummy, and I was like, it gives you an idea of um, how devastating it can be. Um, yeah, let's see. So 36 Chamber says MMA guys are some of the nicest guys around. It doesn't mean they will go easy on you, but they're very willing to help. I think it's harder to fit into a new Chinese martial arts school because of culture. Yeah, yeah. So I trailed off before, but good point. That's what I was trying to get at before. Is like I was saying, you can go to these schools now, and you can get pretty awesome, a mixture now. Because obviously before, when you went to kickboxing, you can only get kickboxing, and like Muay Thai. It's still stylized. It's awesome, but still stylized. But now you can go to, like an MMA school, like we've got down the way from us, which I'm going to go to as soon as it opens. I moved area, because I consider myself a traditional mixed martial artist, because I've tried my best to study many different aspects and train them. Grappling, striking, although striking's like one of my favorite. I could be a lot better at sparring because I don't do a lot of sparring. I've done it when I can, but yeah, as you guys see with my channel, I'm on my own. Yeah, I'm on my own. I do my own thing. But and I'll get on to sparring in a minute. But you can go to these clubs and you can get an all-rounded thing. So no wonder traditional martial arts are getting slammed. Because like you say, you go in there and you've probably got more people like me and you guys out there who've probably done a lot of different martial arts, been led a bit astray, found a good one, put a lot of effort into working at a traditional art, gone into the MMA, gone into whatever, and it's awesome. Yeah, well, there we go. And 36 Chamber of Hungar has also said, because he does MMA as well, and he said, yeah, if you go to a traditional Chinese martial arts school and you want to spar someone or whatever, a lot of, and this goes for a lot of martial arts dojos, like, everyone kind of can almost get a bit offended, and, like, oh, who's this dickhead come along thinking thinking he wants to challenge us and fight. They take it as a challenge, don't they? It's a challenge. But in an MMA school now, you go there and say, hey, do you want to train? Do you want to train afterwards? Do you want to spar? And because that's the ethos, that's good. So, hey, maybe that is a good direction. Maybe there is more for the traditional arts to take from that. But also the guys from the mainstream these days need to realize that there's also a lot of traditional martial artists out there. There always has been, who have an open mind, who do train in that manner, who are genuine, open-hearted people, who want the best for martial arts. That's all I want. That's why you won't see any comment or video from me dissing on another style. I very rarely say anything against anyone, and the comments I make on this video and on the odd video about these some of these channels that analyze, there's pretty much the only negative comments you'll see from me, because I think these channels that analyze martial arts and break them down ultimately end up feeding into biases. Yeah, they just feed into whatever the current bias of the day is, and that kind of annoys me. I haven't seen any of those channels, but I must admit I don't watch a lot of them because they annoy me. But I haven't seen many of them that are kind of fair to everyone. Yeah, it always goes to, but then that's human nature. That's my nature. It'll always go towards the bias of the person presenting it. I keep myself. 36 Chamber says he only disses on Aikido. Now, here's a good thing. But here's another thing, 36 Chamber, and I see why. Because I did some being a fan of traditional martial arts and Budo, fighting Japanese martial arts. I trained some Aikido back in the day with my friend, but this was when and I went to a dojo. I went to an actual dojo, so it wasn't just me and my friend, because I studied Bujinkan, or I studied traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu, or a form of it, and he studied Aikido, and I could appreciate Aikido. I could make a huge video about Aikido, but day one when I walked in the dojo, I mean, I loved it. I loved what I saw. But day one when I walked in the dojo, for me, I already saw things that I was not happy with. One thing I saw was the instructor was an absolute asshole. And I've met quite a few Aikido instructors. I think it's because of the hierarchy, who aren't very personable people. And they're not my kind of martial artists. Yeah, I believe in humility. I believe in respect. I believe in training. Now, I walked into this Aikido dojo. This instructor, who was a respected instructor, he's in Wales, so he's a respected instructor for his grade. So I was about 17, 18. He was a respected instructor for his grade, and he was a much older guy than me. But this guy, even at that point, I'd been studying martial arts since I was 5, and like physical effort wise, like studying every day, every other day, I'd been studying since I was about 14. So 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So I'd put 5 years of heavy effort. You know, that effort that you put when you're a teenager and you get obsessed with stuff. So I was outside like 6 o'clock in the morning. I had my boxing bag. I was like all into my Shaolin. I had my boxing bag, 4-foot boxing bag, which I filled with sand and gravel. And it was hard. Like I wouldn't even punch that thing now. And I was punching on that thing with like Shotokan-esque style punches. And I was then going into boxing, and I was doing my forearm training and everything. And I was hitting it way too hard. And I was probably hitting it way too often. I was kicking it and shin kicking it. And I had blue knuckles constantly. But suffice to say, I did a respectable amount of hard style conditioning for a good amount of time. For someone of that age, by the time I got to 17, 18, I'd done years of that stuff. I could break bricks. I just got to the point where I could break bricks. So as a young man, I was a powerful striker, at least. You know, you can take everything else away from me, you can take technique, but raw, powerful striking for my size and my age, I was all right, you know, like. So then put on top of that the jujitsu I'd done for a good amount of years as well, the 5 or 6 years of jujitsu, albeit it's stylized traditional Japanese jujitsu, but it's still good locks, throws, blah blah blah. So I'll finish the story at some point. So I went into the dojo there, and this instructor basically threatened me because I didn't like put out the mats or something. Like they were putting out the mats, and I'm putting the mats away out. And he kind of looked at me and he was like, "Oh, you'll put those out if you know what's good for you." And you know, like obviously I'm only a young man, but I looked at him and I'm like, and I won't judge others, or I try not to, but I've always judged myself when it comes to martial arts and fitness and toughness. I always judge myself with a harsh ruler, with like a freaking burning magnifying glass. So I didn't think great of myself, but I can only judge this guy based on me and what I've done. But I looked at this guy and I was like, okay, mate, you're in your 40s, you're out of condition, you're a little bit overweight, your hands and knuckles and stuff. And I appreciate this guy has a lot of technical skill, but I was like, and this is maybe where the fighter MMA mindset comes in or whatever. But I kind of looked at this guy and I was like, I wanted to be one of those guys. Like at that moment, I wanted to challenge this guy. I wanted to say, I'll tell you what, mate, freaking wear some gloves or no gloves. I don't care because I reckon I can smash you up. You know, you might beat me, you might break my arm, but I reckon as a 17, 18-year old, and you've got however many, I think he was like a fifth dan or seventh dan, I was like, man, I will rain some evil ass kicks into your legs. You know, sorry, this is getting a bit aggressive, but I'm passionate about it. You know, I was, and within the respectful environment of the martial arts dojo, of course, but I was like, man, I will rain some horrible, dirty, evil, like shin kicks into your legs. I will sweeps with an iron broom you. I will hit the freaking your calves with my freaking shins that I've been training on my rock bag. I will throw like horrible elbows and forearms at you if you grab me and this and that. I know locks myself. I know rear naked chokes. I was like, I will smash this guy. You know, I didn't think I would win, but you know, inside of me, I was like, I want to smash this guy because he's basically threatening me. He doesn't know me, and he's seen me walk in, and he's seen a white belt in Aikido, and he's gone, oh, this dickhead can't fight. I'm going to threaten him. And you know, yeah, he wasn't really threatening me, but you know, I didn't take it well. I didn't say anything because I'm respectful, but you know. Like that annoyed me, and so we trailed off because we were talking about Aikido. But I've seen that a fair bit in Aikido, and there's also, and I love Aikido. Don't get me wrong, like I respect it. There's also a big channel here on YouTube, isn't there? All about this guy and his journey through Aikido and how he then goes on to MMA. But also, I'd like to say something to that guy. Is 36 Hungar says, I guarantee that if you were to fight me, you'd kick the ass. No, mate, I'm not indestructible. I'm sure anyone who's been studying a bit of martial arts will give me a run for my money. You know, definitely. But where was I with this? My Aikido story. I'm really enjoying this chat with all the guys. By the way, thanks for tuning in. It's giving me something to do. I've eaten breakfast, so I'm just. I've got my stupid training set up outside, which I put a video up about yesterday or the day before. It's like a stupid makiwara on a tree and a piece of wood sticking out as a limb, my boxing bag, and a shin kicking pad. No, the guy doesn't have a channel on YouTube. Oh, my disagreement. Who did I just? Oh, no. The guy who the guy who was a kickboxer and came and was flaming on my channel. He doesn't have a YouTube channel. But where was I going with this Aikido thing? So yeah, that's a problem. I lose track of myself a lot. So so yeah. So anyway, so I I respect Aikido for what it is. But here's something. I don't know if you guys agree. One thing I've always said about Aikido is the founder of Aikido, Muriya Shiba, was a jiu-jitsu master. Okay, in his youth, he was a sumo wrestler. He was quite a big, strong guy. Oh, the Aikido guy on YouTube. Oh, well, someone. Oh, thank you, 36 Chamber. You put me back on track. Oh, he's got a massive channel. He's someone. Come on, one of you guys will know. He's got a massive channel on. He's got a massive channel here on YouTube where he used to do Aikido, and then he went on his journey from Aikido through to MMA and basically saying like Aikido doesn't work, and he was an instructor for years. Geez, what's his? Oh, guys, you'll know the channel. Trust me. I'm never going to be able to find this. Come on, someone on here will know. Does anyone on here know the channel? The guy who he does Aikido. He does it for years. He's like a slim guy. He's fairly young, and he talks about how he used to be an instructor for years. Yeah, that's it, Dick. Thank you, Dick. Martial arts journey. So we were just talking about Aikido and martial arts journey and a couple of other things. So yes, martial arts journey. It's a cool channel. But going back to our original theme of traditional martial arts, and then I'll get into Aikido. What I'd like to say to martial arts journey is, man, why did it take you all those years to realize you couldn't fight? Like, part of Aikido at least is about, or traditional Japanese arts, they always use the word Budo in Aikido, which is, in Japanese, translated as to English, like fighting martial arts, or the fighting way, or the way, like the real way. How did it take that guy that long to realize that he couldn't fight? That's what I mean about traditional martial arts getting let down. You know, like on day one, that guy should have been looking into punching, kicking, striking, all those abilities. She never should have been in this delusional realm where he figured that he could, he could fight with all this stuff without trying it, without doing more, without building up his basic skills. I always say to a lot of people, why put a lock on someone when you can punch him in the face? You know, why do a chin grab or whatever when you can end it? Level 1 is striking. Level 2 is, level 1's like distancing. You know, level 2 is like the striking based on the distancing you're at. If that's failing, you're getting closer, you're getting into locks and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, you know, again, it goes back to that beginning thing that I was saying. It is the responsibility of you alone as a traditional martial artist to develop your core warrior. And that's why it's called lawsuits. That's why, yeah, you're right. But that's why that guy was able, from martial arts journey, an awesome guy. I'm not dissing on him. Exactly, Dick says he never sparred the whole time he was in Aikido. That guy is a classic example of someone in the traditional arts who obviously didn't have that warrior mindset. But the moment he was thrust into a combat sport where you have to fight then and there, he developed it. Yes, and Dick says it exactly. He would have figured out really early on what real skill level is. But that's not the fault of traditional martial arts. That's his fault. Maybe it's a fault of Aikido or whatever, but I actually have big respect for Aikido. And once again, I know everyone slams on him. These days, I don't know why, because he's actually a very good budoka. But good old Steven Seagal in his day is, he's a classic example, even if it's back in the day, he's a classic example of someone who trained Aikido or Budo with like the warrior mindset for actually fighting. And anecdotes and stories aside, he would be, and possibly still is, an effective budoka. Like, he... Short of you just hitting him and knocking him out, which isn't what he's trained in. Man on the street level, if you mess with him, he would take you out, and or may take you out. Put him in a ring, and that's a different circumstance. That's a whole different thing. But yeah, there's the catch jitsu guy talks about this a lot. I don't know that guy. Mate, you'll have to send me to him. Dick. Jesus, I'm such a loser. I keep killing this chat by mistake. So yeah, that's another thing. I know we've trailed off onto Steven Seagal here, but that's another thing with this. I don't know. There's this whole big thing, and there's all these videos online and stuff about like, is Steven Seagal legit? A lot of them are from people who don't even study like jujitsu and that's like something I was saying in one of my other videos is like, traditional jujitsu is like it's its own animal. You have to learn it in a certain way. It's very archaic, but it does have value. It really does have value. Obviously, it's the father system of the whole of BJJ. Like, so you can't poo-poo it. Nawaza, the ground fighting, is the basis of BJJ. Yes. So 36 Chamber of Hungar has said, which is awesome. Um, He said kudos, and that's what I'll say. Hey, don't get me wrong. I'm not dissing martial arts journey here. A little criticism for him maybe not realizing sooner, but he loved the art he was in. Also, he does say by his own admission that he loved from pretty much from the very start. He loved teaching people. He loved showing them and like making them better. Part of me wonders, at a human level, was it a little bit of ego where he liked instructing and teaching. He liked that place of power. So then he became the instructor and he was teaching people and he was the master, and he never stopped to think about himself. Well, he obviously didn't, and go, well, hold on a minute, can I actually fight here? That's the responsibility of all martial artists, all traditional martial artists, me and you, to ask ourselves these questions. Can I actually fight? Do I need to spar? Do I not need to spar? Can I fight? But before we go into sparring, I'll finish off the little thing about Aikido. I'm a firm believer, I don't know about you guys, having studied traditional Japanese martial arts, the founder of Aikido, Mori Ueshiba, was a jujitsu master. So he'd studied jiu-jitsu for his whole life, sword work, weapon work, the functionalities of it. Sorry, I was just reading something. So he, I'll bring it up in a minute. I think it was someone saying that this guy's like cut off from the other people he used to deal with, but damn, where was I going? Oh yeah, Morishima. So he was a jiu-jitsu master his whole life. And this is one thing I'd say about Aikido is a demonstration of jiu-jitsu at the highest level. It's much like if you look at like the top guys in Bujinkan or Taijutsu or whatever you want to call it. They're like top level jiu-jitsu practitioners. But I'll go back to Aikido. But I'm a firm believer that you can't become like that without doing what the instructor or the sensei or whatever has done. You just can't ever realize it. So, my friend who studied Aikido, I said, mate, go back, study jujitsu for a couple of years, learn some of that, then go back to your Aikido, because you're more likely to get to the level you want to in your jiu-jitsu through your Aikido than you are just doing Aikido. It's probably more difficult because of how refined it is. It's an awesome martial art. I love it. It's not for me in the training style, but that's because the instructors that I've encountered have pushed me away from it. And yeah, I believe it's so traditional and so to the core of like modern Japanese culture, because it was only invented in like the the late 1920s or 1930s or something like that. So it's not, I mean, can you say it's a traditional Japanese martial art? Well, in as much as it's a representation of a traditional Japanese martial art. But anyway, we'll go off that. Sparring. Let's go on to sparring. So here's a good thing. Now, hey, this is just my opinion. But again, I've seen, and thanks guys for participating with the comments and stuff. Where's this chat? Oh, do you know what? That's evil. My chat bar. Oh yeah. C says Steven Seagal did train in a more disciplined area. Yes, we've got a comment about, and 36 Chambers said that studying other styles of Kung Fu helped him to understand his Hung Gar. Well, I get that. I get Wing Chun guys, I don't know why, but I get Wing Chun guys coming to me. Well, I do know why. And they're like, look, can you help me out with stance work? Because as you probably know from Wing Chun, I'm not going to say the stance work is limited, but compared to other styles of Kung Fu, there are nowhere near the kinds of, deep stances and the same kind of stance training, or if there is, it seems to be missed, or I don't know, because I don't know a lot about Wing Chun, but I get some guys coming to me from Wing Chun saying, look, can you help me out with this stance work? What can I do to train my stances, etc., etc. So obviously, I guess if they went and trained those other styles of Kung Fu, then they came to Wing Chun, their Wing Chun would probably benefit more. And that would be of more benefit because, again, Wing Chun is not it's a fairly new style of Kung Fu. I don't mean new, I believe it's still hundreds of years old, but in the comparative lineage of Kung Fu, Wing Chun is a newer offshoot from what I understand. So someone said he likes how the feet move in a semicircle, not to step on a bottle in the bar. Yeah, there's many reasons for the old style footworks. But back onto sparring. Oh, in Wing Chun. Yeah. No, well, there's some cool stuff in Wing Chun. I remember me and my friends years ago. This was silly stuff, but after school, so I had my Kung Fu and karate and stuff that I trained, and a bit of my jiu-jitsu when I was about 16, 17 or whatever. And my friends were they practiced a style of karate. Which they said was a traditional Okinawan style, but it wasn't, because it didn't look like a style to me. It was a bit of a McDojo style, but they trained hard. They had the cutters and stuff like that. Why I thought it was a bit of a McDojo style is because there was me doing like pretty hard style external Shaolin Kung Fu trainings or more traditional Okinawan Kung Fu trainings with the sandbags, makiwaras and stuff like that. And then I met these friends of mine who done karate for years but didn't practice any of these old style conditioning methods. They were bigger guys than me as well at the time, because I was fairly sort of small, short, well, not short for my age, but I was, nothing special for my age or whatever. When I was that age, I was stronger than I appeared to be because of the training I'd done since I was a kid. But that was about it. But anyway, we used to have some cool sparring sessions, and I tell you what, the conditioning, even at that age, it helped a lot. Oh, his cat is wanting in on the picture there. It's going to become a cat channel. This is a funny cat. It obviously wants me to shut up. The cat's like, come on, man, feed me now. But anyway, we used to have some awesome sparring sessions, and it was just fun, just fun. And I used to enjoy like wrecking these guys with blocks, because we were all doing a stylized form of combat. Mine was a little bit more fluid because I was a bit, I was like trained in karate, and then I went out of it because I was just moving countries and different schools, and I would just train at home. So these guys were currently training in the karate, so they were doing big movements, very stylized, but it was cool. They were throwing some horrible kicks. We were throwing some good kicks. I was really enjoyed my jumping kicks and leaping kicks, but of course we hit each other, but with the kicks you had to dial it back quite a lot. And you can't really dial back a jumping kick that much, so I just used to do them for show because these guys were a lot taller, but just to show them like, hey man, I can jump in and get you in the jaw if I wanted. But yeah, I equally used to enjoy freaking just using simple maneuvers. Someone said you moved recently. Are you still in Canada? I'll get to that. Man, I used to just enjoy simple maneuvers of like just freaking wrecking these guys' arms and legs with like with like blocks and stuff like that. You know, just from a little bit of conditioning in those days. And you know, obviously as teenagers, you're probably not as tough as you then are in an adult time. But one of the guys, in terms of my story, one of the guys went off and did Wing Chun for a few weeks. And then he came back, and when we were doing our sparring sessions, it was really interesting. So on the Wing Chun front, he melded in some of the Bong Sao and Fuk Sao, and he melded in some of the Ging, some of the new ways of generating power, some of the new ways of moving. He melded that into his style of karate, and almost immediately it became more challenging to spar that guy. So that's why I'm a firm believer that there's value in all systems of martial arts that people have bothered to study, especially if they've got a bit of a lineage and have survived. There's got to be value in there. You know, there's always something if you look at it with an open mind. A mixed martial artist, I'm always of the mind of getting value. I feel sorry for the people out there who just believe, you know, kickboxing is the best, or MMA is the best, or you know, karate is the best, or you know, Wing Chun is the best. It may be the best for them, but there's value in all systems. There's value in, and do you know what? In general, there's value in the training. Full stop. Because that's the one thing a lot of people ask me, or I talk about at work and stuff, and I just talk about in general. I reckon one of the best things you can do for self-defense is just toughen yourself up. Yeah, if you can increase your endurance, your strength, your toughness with base exercises from whatever it is, whether it's the gym or whatever, CrossFit, whatever. If you can do that, you don't need to know any martial arts. But if you can make yourself, you not gas out, run, not get tired, carry weight over distance. Every person inherently, as long as their spirit is not broken, has an inherent ability to defend themselves pretty well. I've seen it. You know, I work with it every day in law, you know, in law enforcement. Victims, offenders, people on drugs, this and that and the next thing. You know, I see it every day. You know, toughness, just training your toughness is worth its weight in gold. It absolutely is. And so I think someone said, how do I get these comments to come up? This thing. I don't even know. There they go. Someone said you moved recently. Are you still in Canada? Oh, I was never in Canada, my good man. I was in the UK for many years. I was in Wales, and now I'm in Australia. So yeah, no, I was never in Canada, which was funny because someone was online. The same guy who was trolling me was online before. Saying that he was saying I'm a Yankee. Kept going on about, oh, you're a stupid Yank. Come to England and I'll beat you up. You know, blah blah blah. And I was like, mate, I'm from South Africa. Two, I've never even been to America, but I just let him carry on. I was like, oh, okay, because, oh well. Someone said there, C said, do police use a tonfa? Well, I don't know, different law. In the UK, we never used it. We just had the extendable baton. And here in Australia, we just got the extendable baton as well. Which, to be honest, in Australia here or in the UK, the most I've ever done with those is smash windows, and actually sometimes I get them out as like a close quarter defensive tool. So as strange as this might sound, like if I'm going into a house, because you have to have like authority to draw firearms and draw accoutrements. So a lot of the time, if I'm going into a house or a warrant or just something I don't know in a house, whether it's a domestic call or whatever, or a warrant or something, or looking for someone, quite often I'll get my baton out. I might have it closed, or I might even have it racked, and I'll just have it ready. Because from doing the traditional jiu-jitsu, there's the cat again. What do you want, brother? Give me 5. From doing the traditional jiu-jitsu training, I feel quite happy with having a stick, as a tool to parry, not so much just to strike with, but as a tool to parry. Like I feel quite comfortable that if someone has like an edged weapon or something like that, and you get surprised at close range before you could draw your taser or Glock or gun. I'm quite happy in myself, but I'm not saying use this as a tactic. But I'm quite happy in myself as I'll always have this metal object which I can parry, guard, defend just for a moment, distract, even throw, to give me a chance to get out another accoutrement or something like that. That's just what I do. I know we've trailed off, and I do want your guys' opinion on this because obviously I've got a freaking 12-year law enforcement background, and I don't advertise it too much. In two different police forces, one with firearms, one without firearms, and I was wondering, I'm always thinking, should I introduce this to my channel? Should I not? Should I do videos on like law enforcement tactics and self-defense and stuff? And because that's kind of, I always say to people, it's good to have an opinion on self-defense and on martial arts, but it's nice to have experience. And in that regard, like I've spoken to instructors of martial arts who, they've got an opinion and experience as a martial arts instructor. But any ideas about actual self-defense, other than the odd time that they've been attacked in the street, they don't have an opinion on it. That's why I'm quite. That's why that's why I take my martial arts seriously, because ultimately, I don't have any more of a better opinion than anyone else, but I use what I talk about, and I have used it like in real life for years. For the last 12 years, I've survived encounters. I've survived attacks. Yes, I've got accoutrements and stuff, but traditional martial arts is all about weapons. So I don't see that as like a cheat. It's just part of modern day martial arts. So I was wondering, whether to bring more of that into my YouTube channel. But yeah, gun stuff, no, not so much. Because like someone said there, YouTube doesn't like guns. And I'm not a big gun guy. I think guns are cool. As a kid, I used to refurbish old World War guns. Man, I could make a whole channel about that. We used to have say Lee Enfield 4, the old service rifle, Steyr Solithan, German submachine gun, MP40s, MP44s. Me and my dad used to strip them, redo them, refurbish them. I wish I'd done a YouTube channel on that. It would have been awesome. But yeah, I appreciate guns. But yeah, 7 years of my police service was without guns. I was in a country where they had no guns. And then obviously here in Australia for the last 5 years of police service, we're armed. We've had to do firearms tactics to a certain level. I wouldn't suggest probably to the level of what the American guys do. But yeah, I was thinking, should I introduce more of this law enforcement stuff into my channel? Because it kind of adds value to it, like people who follow the channel know it, like, because a lot of people have come on here and said, oh, well, you're just stupid kung fu and you do slapping with your palms and you don't know what life is and you don't know what a real fight is and blah, blah, blah. And that's because I don't like to publicize it too much because I'm in the job, and it's risky. But yeah, everything I'm trying to tell people on this channel, I've found of value in real life, like out there. When someone is grabbed me and tried to throw me down a flight of stairs, I've found these things value. And all my channel is about is basic strength, toughness, conditioning methods from old style martial arts. There's not a lot of law enforcement stuff. There's not a lot of tactics and all this, but I try and introduce a little bit of it every now and then, here and there. But yeah, I've got stories upon stories. I was even thinking, Stu says, what jiu-jitsu did you study, and what rank did you get did you get to? Yeah, I studied Bujinkan, man. So yeah, Bujinkan or Taijitsu or whatever you want to call it, which I call it Jiu-Jitsu because that's what it is. Bujinkan is 9 separate schools of Jiu-Jitsu under one banner. Yeah, forget the ninja stuff. Forget all that crap. That's not why I got into it. There's within the Bujinkan, there's like the ninja sect people, and there's just people who train it for martial arts. I was always one of those people, the martial art people. It was, put it this way. Well, thanks for asking, Stu. Put it this way, mate. It was the best jiu-jitsu that I could find where I was. And you know what? I'm glad I did it because I'd been to other schools of Japanese jiu-jitsu in my area that were so far removed from the original Japanese teachings that they were almost like worthless in doing. At least the Bujinkan I was training, the instructors were still going to Japan, albeit it's stylized, but they were still going to Japan. Once you get to know about the system, you realize it's just 9 schools of jiu-jitsu. And interestingly enough, now with the headmaster of the school, Masaki Atsumi, the Soke, with him getting really old, he's now giving each one of his senior instructors each one of the schools, which is really interesting because it means now instead of like the Bujinkan will exist, but he's given the guy who portrays each school best. Like one's a body armor school, one's bodyguarding school, one's like a samurai, more samurai unarmed jiu-jitsu school. But each one of his instructors who best exhibits the traits of each specific school, he's giving that particular school back to them, which is awesome because basically we're getting a revival of 9 schools of samurai jiu-jitsu, which is a real thing, that haven't been trained independently for hundreds of years, which is cool. And those guys who are leading the charge have been training the jiu-jitsu since the 80s. So that's cool. What's this? So some cool comments here. If I can get them to freaking come up again. Here we go. I would be interested in what would be practical for using. I'd be interested what would be practical for using, which would be Joe or weapons that are basically inexpensive unarmed strikes. 36 Chamber saying about Bas Rutten and the Pancras strikes. Yeah. Stuart says, did you get to super Aiki focused of study? Sorry, Stuart, I don't know what you mean there. But yeah, no, I enjoyed my Bujinkan practice. I've got a lot of I've actually made a video about this, but I don't think I'll publish it. But I might chuck it on Patreon for the Patreon guys. But I got a lot of value out of training Bujinkan, but there's a lot wrong with it. McDojo Life Channel did a recent video. Basically, he was dissing Richard Van Donk and some stupid kicks that he was doing, but then he went on to diss Aikido. I spoke to him about it on a messenger because it made me annoyed because there's a lot of value in Bujinkan, but you just have to understand what it is. You mustn't. Again, you've got to train. If you train Bujinkan, you've got to. Oh yes, Stuart says. Okay. Like Stuart says, if you train Bujinkan, you've got to understand it for what it is. It's just traditional, old style Japanese jiu-jitsu. Yeah. It doesn't need a modern It doesn't need. And analyzing it from a current fight, what will work in the streets point of view is kind of null and void because it's an old style traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu. It's made for the time when it was made. If you want that archaeological study in that's what you do. I actually enjoyed it because it did teach me some good concepts, because as with a lot of traditional Japanese martial arts, we're talking about concepts. distance, rhythm, timing, dimensions of movement, lots of stuff that people get hung up on because they call it all fancy names in Japanese. And like, I remember talking to people in the Bujinkan, they'd be talking about moving in different dimensions, and it just sounded like so much crap. But all it actually meant, because of translations, was dimensions as in up, down, left, right, back, forward. That's all it meant. It wasn't magical dimensions, but unfortunately, because of the ninja cult, there's some people who come along and they think they move like the wind. They think they move in freaking magical dimensions. And Hatsumi, when he's talking about dimensions, is talking about freaking magical direct dimensions. And it's not. It's all physical, practical stuff like distance, rhythm, timing. There's as with a lot of traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu, there's a lot of stuff about capturing a rhythm of your opponent. Now that stuff, inherently, that stuff which was used in the samurai arts, it works. It actually works. So what have we got here? And the reason I'm saying it works, guys, is because, but this isn't so much Bujinkan, but this is jiu-jitsu. The concepts of the fighting the Budo within jiu-jitsu, they work. Yeah, being relaxed, feeling what your opponent's doing. And the reason I'm going to say they work, in my opinion, is because I trained it to black belt level. Sorry, that's an answer. I got to Shodan. Is it Shodan? First Dan. I trained it to black belt level, but it took me a long time because I kept turning my belt down because I didn't want it. Because that's another thing I'm critical of in the Bujinkan, is the grading system's rubbish. But I found in real life that the jiu-jitsu skills I learned there were some of the most valuable stuff that I did in martial arts. The partner work, the distance, the rhythm, the timing, the locks, the joint locks. So to someone who says ninjutsu or Bujinkan is rubbish, I'd politely tell them that they're wrong. If you study it as a budoka, as a fighter, and you make sure you do other things as well, the core of that style was of good value to me. And I'm telling you this as someone who's, I don't want to repeat myself, but 12 years police experience, 2 different countries, firearms and no firearms, more so in the UK because you seem to get more fights there. But I found it to be valuable, and I'll tell you why. I've just got to get to some of these comments. Pain and joint control was great. Stu's putting some good comments. In jiu-jitsu, often kicks are awkward. Yeah, a lot of the kicks are really awkward. Yes. So the kicks, again, you see these weird angular kicks and little stomps that you do. Now that's because, remember, I was explaining about the 9 different schools. One of those schools is a bodyguard school. The other one, one of those schools is a bodyguard school where you train in short confined spaces. And of course, if you want to kick a limb or something like that, you want to use the power of your legs, it's just one of the ways that you do it. Oh, Lobo says, thanks for this video, it's very informative. Oh yeah, the kicks in Taijitsu or the traditional Jiu-Jitsu are completely different. Sokuho Kaiten, like a Sokuho Geri, like a stomping kick. That, honestly, guys, that kick is the one I use the most for putting doors through. Like, of all the kicks I've ever used in my life. A lot of the stuff that they criticize, actually the stuff that McDojo Life criticized in his video where it shows Richard Van Donk doing kicks, like he criticizes it. I've actually used those kicks in real life, like on a real person, but it's part of being a good martial artist and practicing them. Obviously not these stupid air ones, that's one of many techniques, but I'll tell you what, in real life, I'm out on the streets, whatever, somewhere in the UK. I can't remember like why it was, but I think I particularly came into contact with this freaking fight that was going on in the middle of nowhere. And I'm like, oh, police, stop, because you have to say that before you can do anything. And there's this big crowd of people like freaking fighting, and I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? And you're single crewed in the UK. Then from nowhere, this idiot runs at me, and he's like just charging at me, screaming. And I'm looking at him, and yeah, they might not do that to American cops because you're armed with all sorts of shit. But I didn't have a taser, I didn't have a gun. I had spray and a baton, and I never even used those because I never got to using them. So there's dickheads running at me, charging at me, screaming. And it just so happens that in my jujitsu lesson or in my Bujinkan lesson sometime before, we were practicing a move set from one of the schools. This is called Koku, Renyo, Danshu, and Danshi. Yeah, and the one of the movements in that technique is about like it's about affecting the body with like a strike or a kick, so that you ground the front attacking leg and then you kick the front attacking leg when it's grounded. So, but bear in mind, look, these are concepts that you've got to train, and no one says they're going to work or whatever. But in this moment, all my body remembered was this nice kick that we'd learned, which was like a sticking. It was from the armor school, so the kick was designed to that when you were in like combat and you fucking lost your weapons or whatever, and you were just about to grapple someone. You guys were both pretty heavy because you're in your armor, but not too heavy. But you'd pull them like judo style. You'd ground their front leg and you'd kick the tense muscle as it was grounded, and it would flick the leg out from underneath them, and it was translated as water wheel because it kind of makes them sort of tumble in a weird way. Now, there's no way on earth, like in the move set, it's called water wheel because it makes them tumble. There's no way that I was open-minded, but I was never going to try that in a real situation. But as it happens, when this guy's running at me, I looked at him, I stepped back like this, and he came just charging at me like an idiot, and I don't know what he was going to do. So as he ran at me, I just remember everything went slow, and as his freaking front leg contacted the floor and he nearly was in punching range for me, I just lifted up my front leg. I can't remember whether it was the front or the back now, but I lifted up one of my legs and I just stomped his thigh with that same kick, like a sticking kick. It was like that, bah! And lo and behold, I lie to you guys not, this front leg just tumbled out from behind him backwards. So this is a guy, the full kinetic motion of a guy running forward. And I kind of stepped back and stomped this front leg, and it freaking made him cartwheel round, just like the technique water wheel from the Densho that we were learning from the scrolls. It was only one bit of that, but his freaking leg flew out from under him, and this guy went bang right on his ass. And I just freaking walked up to him and arrested him. It really honestly worked just like that. And that was from training these silly kata, 2-man kata sets. And it literally worked like that. And but one, that was from me being proficient in the kicks and practicing them. It was from me being a good student. It was from me being conditioned. I trained my kicks a lot. I trained my stamping kicks. But then part of that belonged to the traditional jiu-jitsu technique. Just like in BJJ, you got to get a person into a certain position, you got to get him there, you got to wait for the opening, and bang, then you strike. This is the same as in the traditional jiu-jitsu. He came forward, that leg was in the right place at the right time, I got the distancing and timing right, and bang, I kicked that leg and it flew out from under him. And in that moment, it's like, yes, it worked. I didn't try it. I didn't make it up. It worked, and it was great. I think I killed my thing again. So what have we got? Someone said, what's my advice for keeping calm around a street fight situation? Can I scroll these? Oh, look at this. I can. Nicholas. I'll get to that, Nick. Yeah, some good advice. Stuart says there's a few comments here about how how do you stay calm in like a real life situation. A lot of the guys are saying training. Well, yeah, that's good because training builds confidence, but don't be too confident. Fear. I would say to you that fear is fear is your friend in a real life situation. So it's strange, but learning. I don't know how you can learn to be calm in the face of fear, but that is my honest view to my honest opinion to you, without sounding silly. But you can be overconfident. You can be confident. Guy. You could make a whole video on it, guys. Zach Stewart said how in your opinion how useful is basic anatomical study. 36 Chamber of Hungar says he's a chiropractor and acupuncture student. Learning anatomy isn't a huge help for fighting under the arms, between the legs and neck and stuff. Well, again, within like say traditional jujitsu, there's kyusho, and within karate, and there's striking the weak points, or goju, hard and soft. There's striking the weak points of the body. Those are useful. There's a lot of it in traditional jiu-jitsu or bujinkan, but I'm going to say traditional jiu-jitsu because it exists in traditional jiu-jitsu. I don't want to stylize and keep on saying bujinkan, because all bujinkan is traditional jiu-jitsu. So there's a lot of and BJJ as well. There's a lot of attacks on muscle groups and stuff like this, whether you're just barring them with a knee or hurting them with your elbow or hand to get another effect, putting that elbow inside the inner thigh and working it so someone moves their leg away. There's quite a lot of good ones for pinning people, like on the inside of the ankle. So there's a lot of good ones, but I think they're useful. But the problem is performing them in a real situation. I've only ever performed one like Kyusho strike in a real situation I can think of. Oh, actually, I lie. I've done a lot of pressure, pain, compliance and stuff. But you can argue that that's like whilst you're grappling with someone. But with regards to like striking, the only like strikes I've ever done is to the inside of the neck, where some guy who was a boxer guy tried to attack my colleague, and it's a whole nother story. But I don't know if you guys know this. Is in Aikido they call it onkyo. It exists in Bujinkan. It's a jiu-jitsu lock. It exists in jiu-jitsu. You grab the bone of the arm or the hand of the attacker. You turn in under them. As you do so, you strike. So if you imagined I grab my hand or whatever, I would turn in under me. I would strike as I did that, or hit or butt to like distract me, and then I would be in a lock like this. So the only time I've ever done a strike for like a pressure point, as far as I can remember today, other than like stuff in grappling, is that time in a striking situation where this guy's gone to try and punch me. I've got the hand, I've twisted around, I've gone under, and then he was stuck like this. He tried to punch me again, but I twisted the arm back at him, so he bounced off. We both fell on the floor because he was against the wall, so I ran with him against the wall. He fell on the floor, and then I used my forearm to strike him about 5 times in the neck. This was in the UK. So no one can get me in trouble for it now. In my current police force, this was in the UK. Oh, and it was legal, it was justified. But yeah, so I've struck this guy 3-4 times in the neck, and it's just knocked him out. And if you guys know, the strikes to the neck here, they will stun you, and they will knock you out pretty good. And they work. So that is a Kyusho, you could say. But that's the only one I can think of that I've done in real life, because striking wise, you get angry and your fine motor skill goes. Other than that, on people who you arrest or whatever, but it's not quite like a fight, because it's hard to explain, but a lot of the time they're just trying to get away, they're just trying to do stuff, they're not like actively trying to hurt you. So you've got to have a difference, even in like arrests and stuff like that, or even in what most people would consider the most aggressive situation they can think of. There's still a difference between someone actively trying to harm you and trying to get away, or trying to push you away, or do some strikes just to get you off them. It's different. Jiu-jitsu guys might know it as well. It's different. What have we got? Body cavities, I think. Oh, liver shots. Yeah, those will. If you can have the training, and you can have the skill and peace of mind to be able to and get the opening to do a liver shot in a real situation, you will put your opponent out. Uh, I don't know. Someone's. Stuart says, "What's my opinion on Petri Tiki Kali?" I tell you what, Patiki, yeah. I Funnily enough, I'm really impressed by what I see with Kali and Arnis and stuff like that. The reason is because in the traditional jiu-jitsu I practiced, or the Bujinkan, or whatever but we'll just call it traditional jiu-jitsu. I was lucky enough to train with some good guys in the UK, and we had seminars where guys would come over who'd come over from Japan, like they'd been training in Japan, not Japanese instructors. Um, but we did a lot of knife work, and at the sort of intermediate to higher levels, like above black belt, but also at whatever level you could pick it up. There was a lot of principles on distance, rhythm, timing, like defensive guarding principles and movements. And one of my friends in the UK, who was also a cop, was into his Kali and his Arnis and stuff like that. And he showed me a video of some guys who are considered to be very good at it. And it was awesome, because I was seeing the same principles there as I was seeing in like the traditional jujitsu, um, like Budo, like the stuff that was meant to be traditional jujitsu, fighting real from warfare. I was seeing similar principles. And what I mean by the principles is that distance, rhythm, timing, capturing your opponent's intention, and those aren't magical things. It's just like it's the difference between someone jabbing for you and trying to knock your head off. Yeah, in those systems you train those things. You train the difference between someone like just having a little slice or going for you. It makes a big difference, into the way you move. And I wish I could remember more of the principles that I could see were doing, but they were doing similar stuff. Mirroring as well. They were doing a lot of mirroring, where like the attacker would go like this, and you basically mirror them. A lot also, just defensive postures. That's a big one from traditional jiu-jitsu that I love, is people moving in defensive postures, rather than trying to block stuff. I think the Japanese got it right with that, with the weapon work. Like for instance, when you're really using the sword, or not really using it, because none of us are really using it, but when you're using the sword, you're trying to almost hide behind your sword and do minimal movements. You're not going like this so much, because it only takes that to kill you, so it's not like in the films. And the same goes for the hand stuff, like my sort of fighting philosophy that has developed from that, and my guard is kind of quite, it's a bit antiquated. It's a bit antiquated, but if ever I do have a guard, it's a very kind of static guard that I move around, and I keep as a shield, because that's like something I've trained. I've trained similar to like some of the bare knuckle boxing stuff you might see. But then again, in real life, or real life, but in combat situations, I've come across myself, like in the law enforcement or whatever. I can think of no occasion where I've risen a guard before someone has like attacked me. Maybe at the moment someone is attacking me, but this certainly doesn't happen, because also, how bad would it look for me? You know, I know there's some clips in it of YouTube of like some cops like putting up their guards and like beating, like just basically having a boxing match with some people. But yeah, it just doesn't happen. Like that's another thing. It doesn't happen. It just well, how can I say it doesn't happen? Because it does. I suppose people get in these street fights where they put up these guards and start punching each other. But my experience of like, I can only call it as real combat as I've had, but how more real does it get than someone who hates you wanting to hurt you with a weapon or something like that, or wanting to get you off them, or you're trying to get them and they're trying to run away, and they're running away from years in prison, they're running away from consequences, and they will do anything that they can to get through you sometimes. My experience of that is that there is no, at that feral level, there's none of this guard fight, fairness. It's just carnage, and you just got to try and survive the carnage in the middle. Someone said to me, "What's the best thing you can do to prepare for a real situation?" Well, you can't, because you will never know it's there. And I say this to a lot of people: you will get attacked. You will not get attacked when you're on your best day. You're walking down the street. You feel good. You've come from the gym. You've come from your martial arts class. You've been doing some sparring with your friend. That's not the day when you will get attacked. You will get attacked when you were in the class the night before and your wrist has been hyperextended and it's sore, so you can't use your right hand and you can only use your shitty left hand. Or you bust your leg, or you've hurt yourself, or you're sick. Those are the days when you will get attacked, my friend. You will be very lucky if you get attacked in real life, when someone does it, when you're knowing it, expecting it. And even then, there'll be a force multiplier, like a weapon or something like that. If it's announced to you, there will be a force multiplier. Or maybe you will get attacked, and there will automatically be a force multiplier. As with some situations that I've had in the past. That's just the way it is, guys. So you can't look. I'm not saying I'm not Mr. Gospel. There's so many cooler people out there, more tougher than me, more experienced than me. I'm just telling you from my experience, from my humble 12 years of trying to survive on the streets as a cop. You will get got when you least expect it, and that goes for being a civilian on the street. Oh, there's a cat's back. Come here, cat. Oh no, the cat's gone now. Let's see. We've got some cool comments here. I'll try and get them up without. Oh no, what have I done? So Stuart says, "What are some of the most easily explainable traditional Chinese martial arts methods of training range, timing, and armed?" There's an old method in the 72 Secret Arts of the Shaolin where you literally just hang a ball from the ceiling, like a tennis ball, or you use a rock ball or something like that, and it's like striking out. You call it a meteor hammer. And there's a method from the 72 Secret Arts of the Shaolin where you just kick this ball, where you kick a rock. A rock moves, but before that you kick a little ball of string, and you hang a bead or something, and you watch it go past you, and you try and listen for it. But that's the same. That's the same as with the boxing, the speed bag. So you can just do some speed bag training. I did some videos a while back when I had my big shed where I hung a wall to ceiling bag, and it's great to develop rhythm and timing and distancing. The ball going past, dodging, moving little and moving late is a cool little principle to train. So hang a marble, hang a tennis ball, on a string, throw it, and try and move, just try and watch it and move as little as you can and as late as you can to dodge it. And I do the same with my boxing bag. So when I'm outside and I'm hitting my boxing bag, it swings around, and I let it kind of come back at my head, and I try and just move a little bit so it just grazes me. And that's quite a traditional Shaolin Kung Fu technique. I've heard that quite a few guys come back from Shaolin doing some of the more involved stuff. They'll do sparring with a partner, and they'll try and move and just move so that the punch gets their ear every time. Just gets their ear, gets their ear, gets their ear. And I had a friend who came back from training in Shaolin, or sorry, a friend of a friend, and he then came and did boxing matches in the UK, and he used that technique quite a lot, and the guys just didn't know why they couldn't hit him, and he was using this like low and slow dodging. But in the boxing world, that those are not uncommon. You know, it's easy stuff. Let's see. Nicholas says, "What's your advice on techniques for bare knuckle boxing, mate?" Bare knuckle boxing. That's basically what I do, or it's part of a traditional martial art. Yeah, I don't do very much at all any kind of boxing training with gloves on. I always do it bare knuckle. Do you want tip number one? Knuckle press ups and knuckle handstands. Those those will strengthen your knuckles so much before you even punch anything. One of the best methods of conditioning and toughening your knuckles: knuckle press ups, knuckle handstands. Yeah, knuckle press ups not so much, but you have to use knuckle press ups to go into knuckle handstands, and then you go on to like one arm knuckle handstands where you're like leaning against the wall, and you can find some videos of me doing it years ago on my channel. But yeah, man, that knuckle work. Also, constant training and practice, but not hitting too hard. That's the difficulty with the bare knuckle training. Get a pair of jeans or something like that, an old pair of jeans, tie a knot in it, fill a bag with some sand, like a couple of kilos of sand, tie it up, hang it up, so you've got a little like human head shaped bag of maize or corn or sand, as heavy as you can, or for the size, and just wrap on that. That's great for training your knuckles and stuff like that. Let's go into a few questions. 36 Chamber Hungar says, "Don't punch a bony target." That goes back to the not Krav Maga. That goes up to the pancreas stuff and the Baz Rutten stuff of the palm strikes and stuff. Very effective against striking bone. Used in law enforcement a lot as well, and they're considered lower force as well. So it's good for your accountability for you guys, like self-defense on the street and stuff. Yeah, C's made a good point. He says in street fights you get pre-fight body language, or what we might call pre-attack indicators, but you don't get much put up your jukes here. No, you don't. You get pre-attack indicators, and it's also part of the part of like real self-defense is even letting anyone anywhere near you. Because if someone's giving you pre-attack indicators, and I spoke about this on one of my other videos about like traditional martial arts and some of the stuff from jiu-jitsu, like you keep them away over there. Yeah. Today's self-defense, someone said, "I've got COVID-19. Yeah. Stuart says, "Thanks. I presume he's talking about the comments I made about it's training, rhythm, distance, and timing." Yeah, Stu, even go online, man, and look at boxing. Look on boxing channels. Type in Google like distance, rhythm, timing, training. There's lots of cool stuff. It's easy stuff to train. It's kind of more about your eye. It's training your eyes. Yeah, it's common training in boxing, in old style martial arts. It exists. Someone here said but it's a Chinese name. "I was in the middle of doing iron palm training a few months ago and smashed my hand on something really hard outside of training. I want to get back into it, but it's still bugging me. Is there anything I can do to help it? I still have full mobility, no broken bones or anything, but sometimes when my hand is just the right position or it hits just right, I'm wearing gloves. If I hit just right or if I'm wearing gloves, it's a sort of irritating pain." Yeah, man. Yeah, that's a nightmare. Hold on. Just send my missus a message. She'll think I'm ignoring her. I'm probably going to get off soon. Yeah, man. Not irritating at all. Someone said, "See a chiropractor." Man, I don't know about you guys, but in my time of doing like fist conditioning or whatever, or iron palm, any kind of, you get those spots of pain on your knuckles. I hate those. Sometimes you can develop like a spot of pain, and it's like someone's like pressing a button on your nerve systems. They eventually go away, but they're a pain in the ass or a pain in the hand. What can you do about them? You just have to wait until they go away, train your other hand, train other attacks. That's pretty much all you can do. Try some Dit to Joe, which is or deep heat or tiger balm. Put that on every day. Massage the area. Try and break down the callus or the nerve, or not the nerve, but break down the damaged tissue. Give your hands, soak your hands in hot water, soak them in cold water for a bit. There's similar ways that you would treat any wound, or go and see a doctor. Yeah, maybe they might be able to give you some ideas about what's gone wrong. Plum Dragon Herbs, you can get Dit to Joe from them. They kindly gave me some Ancestors Advanced Dit to Joe, some Ho Family, and some other formulas of theirs. So I think they're based in Canada, but they sent it to Australia here with no problems. So you can check them out, or any other place that you can get Dit to Joe from. Try it out. It works. It's a good stuff. We use it in traditional kung fu training. What it actually is it's a plant steroid. It's funnily enough, one of the many ingredients. It's got anti-inflammatory properties, blood circulatory properties, and these aren't it's not mystical or magical. These plants, if you look into them individually, they actually have these properties. And you put it on, and it just helps you with healing, helps you with blood flow. Simple things like chili. Some of the formulas have cayenne pepper in, because if you rub cayenne pepper on your body, it instigates an immune response on your skin. That's why your skin goes red, and that causes blood flow to go to the skin. It causes immune response. But of course, if you've got an injury on the bone in that area, the increased blood flow to that area over time helps it to heal. So yeah, that's what a lot of people don't know about those Dit to Joes. Like, some guy came on my channel the other day. My ears are sore from this hat. Some guy came on my channel. Yeah, so Stu says that's how it works. Some guy came on my channel the other day, and he was he was like slamming on me for doing kung fu or whatever, and he was like, "Oh, I see you're touting these stupid like potions and stuff. You're such a phony." And I mean, it's part of traditional Chinese culture, man. These Dit to Joes have been used for like hundreds, thousands of years. And they do have, if all you need to do is go online, you can Google the ingredients, you can get them off Google. And now with the joy that is Google, like instance, go online, look at properties of, they have things in them like frankincense. They have the things in them like myrrh. They have things in them like dragon's mane. Go online and look at the properties of these sorts of plants, or go online, Google Dit to Joe formula, and you'll see the names. Then go online and Google the names. You'll get the complicated Latin names, and you can get the English names, and just look into them. You can also get the Japanese names like Bo Ren and Shi Ri, and the Chinese names. They're complicated, but I'm not an expert on the names, but go in and Google them now with the fantastic knowledge database that we've got. That isn't just freaking Pornhub. Go on there and have a look, and you'll see all the properties of the plants. You'll see. Yeah. It's just how they work. So I wasn't touting. Or go to Plum Dragon Herbs website if you want. They're the guys I work with, so I'm talking about them. But go on their website and have a look. You can see it. You can buy the herbs individually. You can do it, or you guys can do it. This guy who's talking about his injuries there was saying he has used some Joe. He's asking, would it be advisable to train through such an injury? Man, look, that's entirely up to you. You guys know, if you know my channel, I've been training iron palm. I haven't even spoken about it here like today, but I've been training iron palm skills and those iron body skills for years. I've had all the same injuries, the pains, and the stuff like that. Usually, what I do, the reason I actually started training iron palm traditionally, back in the day when I was like 14, 15, was because, like I said before, I filled my boxing bag up with gravel and sand, a 4-foot boxing bag. It was heavy as hell, and I was practicing my old like Shotokan style punches, and I remembered when Shotokan I learned some chops as well that I never used, and some knife hand strikes, some finger strikes. And then I got into kung fu and Shaolin kung fu, and I'd get an injured knuckle, so I would train the other things. So I would say if you do have an injury somewhere in particular on your hand, whether it's the back of your palm or the front, or just train the other surfaces. Because like I said before, in regards with getting attacked, you might get attacked on a day when your best hand's out of action. You broke it. You can't use it. So you got to train in a lot of different ways. You got to train like not using your hands, using your crappy hand, using your crappiest strike to see if you can defend yourself. This is all part of like your martial arts journey, but only you can do it. And that goes back to the beginning of this whole video about traditional martial arts as getting a bad rap. There's a lot of things to train. There's a lot of ideas, but it's up to us to train them. Anyway, all right, guys. Well, look, thanks for tuning in. It's been a pleasure. Albeit I don't know how many people have actually been on there, but there's been a core of dudes on here. Stuart, C, 36 Chamber Hungar, Nicholas has been on there. So thanks, guys, for stopping by and chatting. Kind of got a good video here that's developed into a lot of different stuff. Hey, if you like the channel, please do like and sub. Like and subscribe on my channel. I'm trying to build my channel. I've been here for 7 years. So if you liked what you saw and you want to get involved, have a good time, Lobo time. Thank you, Lobo. Please do like and subscribe, comment. Put up a recent video of my little training area. It's not amazing, but it's what I've got at the moment. I've got my sand bucket where I'm doing my finger training and my iron palm training. So if you're interested in iron palm training, you can see that there. If you're interested in kind of endurance and physical toughness training, which is what we need to do, you should see that there. I've got that there. I went for a pack march the other day with my 16-kilo weight vest. So I put up a video about that, but that's living on Patreon at the moment. But look, thanks a lot, guys, for tuning in. It's been good. I've got to talk a lot of crap, and I've got a lot off my chest, so that's nice. Now I'm going to go and make some food now. I only started this video because I'd eaten breakfast, and I was just letting my breakfast digest so I could go out and do some shin conditioning and stuff. That's all right, 36 Chamber, you're all good. I only started this video so I could go and digest my breakfast and then go and do some conditioning. But yeah, now it looks like I've skipped over breakfast. I've digested. Now I'm going to have lunch. But I might do a bit of training now on my boxing bag. If you guys haven't seen my setup, go and have a look on one of my newest videos. It's really cheap. It's really easy. It's just a tree. It's got a makiwara, like one of those springboard ones mounted on a piece of cardboard. I've got a little limb, a kakia for just keeping me reminded as best as you can with solo practice of the distancing, difference between punching range and kicking range. If you've got this thing sticking out and you're having to work around it, it's better than nothing. It's not better than MMA training or partner training, but in isolation at the moment and for practicing some extra stuff on your own, a little stick on your boxing bag or tied to a tree that you have to work around, it can work wonders. I've got a low kick shield at the shin area. It's tied to the tree as well with that like solid back, so I can do some shin conditioning still. Now I've got my boxing bag for everything else, with a chain on the top. Like I was talking to Stuart about things for training your eyes. So I've got a chain on the top of my boxing bag that's about just above head height. And when I'm striking the boxing bag, I just try and the chain whips at you. It's a thick chain, so it's just above my head height. So luckily, it won't ever hit me. If I wanted to be really extreme, I could extend it so it could hit me. But it's constantly whipping at you, and it's keeping you aware that, man, every time you strike and every time you kick and punch and move, potentially there's something coming at you. So it keeps that peripheral vision going strong. Yeah. If you go on the video I just did, it shows you the setup, and it'll show you just that little bit of chain. Yeah, stance 36 chambers of Hungar saying that stance training and flexibility is awesome, good training. But anyway, guys, look, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for participating and commenting. Well, the cat's here. The cat's here to say goodbye. My wife's cat. Jesus, look how big this cat is. Look at this. It's like the biggest cat ever. This cat cracks me up. The silliness of the internet. You go to tune into a martial arts video, and you end up seeing an excessively long cat. Yeah. Anyway, thanks 36 Chamber saying he loves the channel. Yeah, I've been a bit disheartened with the channel recently. I'm a bit disheartened at how I don't know, it doesn't matter, but I'm kind of like, I've been here for a while, and the subscriber count is still very low. It doesn't matter, but I'm seeing like newer channels coming up, and they've got loads of subscribers, but some of the channels are spreading like misinformation and stuff like that. So it kind of makes me sad, because my ethos, like I said, on martial arts is like everything's a benefit, training toughness, training simple conditioning. And you've got these kind of really biased channels that are coming out, where to be honest, some of them, look, I want to make a video about it, but I don't like spreading negativity. Some of the martial arts channels out there, literally, they're just playing. They're playing games. They're not touching on subjects or concepts that we touch on or deal with. And then if you comment on them, even positively, if you disagree with their opinion, just on doing basic kicking and punching, they get pretty angry about it, and it's like, yeah, it's funny. Anyway, I'm going to go. Thanks a lot, guys. Look, have good training. I'm going to go and do some conditioning. I'm going to do some shin conditioning and stuff on my boxing bag. I want to, yeah, 36 Chamber says it's niche. And that's always what I've thought. That's all, yeah, and the same with Stu. That's always what I thought, Stu. I've always been happy in the fact that I know this is a niche subject. Like iron body conditioning and the traditional styles of conditioning, even within martial arts, are a bit of a niche subject. So maybe I should broaden out onto other general defense stuff, and just how to kick. But I feel I don't like insulting people. Oh, well, that's true. No one else is considering iron body like I am, or no, at least no one else that you don't have to regularly pay. At the level that I do it, of course, like you've got Sifu Yang Li and them lot who are light years ahead of me. But obviously you have to go and pay for his knowledge, and rightly so. And he gives a lot of free knowledge away too, which is awesome. I like, he's a big inspiration, that guy. But yeah, this channel is a niche within a niche. So I understand that. I also don't like insulting people, but trying to teach them how to kick and punch and do stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, okay, guys, I must go now. Have a good one. Thank you very much, and I hope you all keep safe out there and keep training. If I can figure out how to leave. Yeah, I'm trying to do a few more collaborations now, as 36 Chambers says. Actually, Sergio Perez from Practical Combat Martial Arts. I mean, he's been a friend of mine for years and years. He's got a good channel. We've had lots of discussions. We've had lots of talks over the years about doing collaborations. and we've just never got round to it. But yeah, me and Sergio have known each other for a lot of years, because he came into. I remember when Sergio came into YouTube with his channel. I remember discussing with him. Yeah, back then he was actually part of a closed group of iron body or iron martial arts training people linked to the ISKFF, which is the International Shaolin Kung Fu Federation. But anyway, guys, I've got to head off now. Oh wait. Well, anyway, that's another story. But yeah, Sergio, if you I hope you're good out there, man. I need to get in contact with you. He's doing lots of good stuff. We disagreed a little bit on the whole sparring thing, because I think sparring's awesome. Sergio thinks sparring's awesome. I always agree that you should do as much sparring as you can. But we a few years ago we had a small disagreement about sparring, but I think that was mainly due to like people outside of Sergio who were coming on his channel making comments to me about it. But we had a bit of a disagreement about like the value of sparring. I think sparring has great value, but some people were saying things like, you don't, and this is not linked to Sergio's channel, but even now people say things like, look, if you don't spar, if you don't do regular sparring, you don't know anything, and you can't, your training's worthless, and da da da. And I don't necessarily agree with that opinion, because real life and sparring, there again, are still different. And I'm a firm believer, as well as, oh, here's the cat, give me five. That if you train things with the warrior mindset, you can still achieve good results. Yeah, sometimes you have to achieve what's better than nothing, and sparring also isn't available to everyone. Like, certainly in a lot of the places I've lived, I know it might sound silly, the rural areas and stuff, there's just been no one. Yeah, and I'm a firm believer in some training is better than none training. And a lot of people out there back in the day were almost trying to pressure me into doing nothing and doing no martial arts, because if you don't spar, it's worthless, as opposed to doing something. And I think that that notion and that mindset is preposterous. Like, anything is better than nothing. Yes. 36 Chamber says, use your new MMA gym for new comment. And yes, that is coming. As soon as, literally, I moved down from rural Australia to one of the cities, and I was literally just about to go to this MMA club. It's called M1FC. You can look it up online. Mac1, M1FC, go to Google, go to stuff. I was literally just about to go there, and I actually phoned the guys and I spoke to them. I said, look, I want to join your fight team. They said, because what experience do you have? I didn't big myself up, but I said, look, I've been doing traditional martial arts for years, but that means nothing. I want to come to you guys. I want to train hard. I want to possibly join your actual fight team. And they said, oh, well, I tell you what, we'll give you, like, usually they give you like one lesson free. They're like, we'll give you like a week free or like 2 weeks free. And I was like, oh, awesome. They gave me the guy to contact, and then bang, COVID. So they're just about reopening now. I'm waiting for the next phase, which is in a few weeks' time. And once they open up, yeah, my plan is to get down there. It's a bit, it's value for money, but it's expensive. So I'm going to have to try and sort my financial situation out. But hopefully, guys, that'll be coming. But whether it'll be coming to the channel, I'm not sure. Obviously, if I do it, I'll document it. But I like to, when I'm doing my training, I like to just get stuck into it and train. I don't know if I'll have time to like film around there and stuff like that. I don't know, if I'll want to. But yeah, certainly if I do it, I'll definitely document it, and I'll try and get some filming in there. But I don't want to be. I'm not as. I don't want to go in there as a YouTuber, as someone to make videos. I just want to go in there as me for my training. But anyway, look, I gotta go. I really gotta go. I keep saying I'll go, but awesome chatting to you guys. I'm gonna go and put on some of my Dip to Joe training oil or my heat oil, and I'm gonna go and do some good old fashioned shin conditioning. It's the cat again. And 36 Chamber of Hunger. I hope I can get some advice from yourself and chat to you further about how much you've enjoyed your MMA training and stuff in that regard. If any of you guys if any of you guys out there want to do some collab videos or want to do some chats about stuff, just get in contact with me, send me a message or whatever. Contact me. I'm on Iron Body Martial Arts Facebook page, or just put a thing on one of these videos. You can find me. I'm on Instagram. There's even Iron Body Martial Arts there. It doesn't do a lot on there. It just festers. But yeah, I'm open to all sorts of stuff. Cool. All right, guys, I'll catch you around once I figure out how to turn this thing off. No, that's not the off button. No, that doesn't switch it off either.